Hello everyone, my name is Renata Cervetto. I am one of the 4 curators of the 11th Berlin Biennale. We are here in ExRotaprint in Berlin, our house where we started the project in September last year. And one of the first works that the visitors can see is the mural by Shansu Kasar. She's an artist from Turkey, from Izmir. And it's called A Day, actually, and the sun is part of her watercolors that you can see also in Kunstwerke. For her, the sun and the shape of the rounded shape was also in relation to this building and to the history and the voices that are inhabiting this space, and also illuminating the coming in for everyone that visits ExRota. This is the space where actually everything started. ExRotaprint is a living archive for the epilogue, where we are displaying the 3 experiences that we had since September last year. The artists that I have behind me, Florian Gass and Mircea Reuter, have been working with us since the beginning of Experience 1, doing a workshop called Stories in Motion, where they developed a theater puppet workshop for children of different ages, involving also local schools from Berlin. Here you can see the documentation of these puppet theaters and also the work they had done this year in May after we reopened the space after COVID. This workshop was very special in May because we had to undergo also the new regulations of safety and hygiene measures, and we didn't know what to expect from the children as well. But happily, they came and they participated and ended up doing a procession in the streets wearing the puppets that they developed together. So here we present the second film of Querida Elena. This film was shot in 2012 after a hurricane hit the Philippines, and it tells the story about 2 children that lost their families in this tragedy, and Kiri, what she's doing is going with them and also drawing with them to heal and also to see how they can overcome this tremendous tragedy they went through.
Unsay mo nakitaan? Unsa pa? Bayo, nagkanra ato?
In this room, visitors can find documentation of the workshops, performances, and events that were part of Experience 1, 2, and 3 since September last year until July 2020. Most of them have been recordings that took place in this room.
3, 2, 1. Entre deux. Teto. Billy. Moja. Entre deux.
When we opened the 11th Berlin Biennale 1 year ago here, with a lecture performance of the Chilean artist Cecilia Vicuña, whose book and whose audio is here on the table, and you can go through different materials that we have left here as a document of the life that we have had in this space. You can also have a look to this very small but very interesting book by Iman Mersal, the Egyptian poet, from whom we took the inspiration for the title of the Biennale. The title, The Crack Begins Within, comes from part of her reflection on violence and motherhood. So in the first vitrine, you have an experiment by Flavio Di Carvalho in the 30s in São Paulo, which was called the Club of Modern Artists. The second vitrine is gathering different documents from the experience that Flavio di Carvalho led on the streets of São Paulo in 1931, crossing a religious procession. So this vitrine is addressing the issue of fanaticism already in the 30s and bringing this in our context, in our current times. After this experiment that Flavio did on the streets, he published a small book describing the experiment, and here we did the first translation into English in our publications. The third experiment of Flavio di Carvalho is a new outfit that he launched in the streets of São Paulo in 1956. It was a masculine short miniskirt, and it's the first in fashion history. The unfolding of this new look you can find at DID, where you have these dissident bodies there and a whole collection of different bodies talking about the public sphere. And the fourth vitrine is a big failure. I think it's also interesting to demystify an artist. So here, Flavio did an expedition to the Amazon. He wanted to shoot a film there, and he wanted to bring some artifacts from indigenous people. I am standing here in front of an image of the meteorite, which is one of the very few survivors of the fire that took the Museo Nacional in Rio de Janeiro 3 years ago. And the picture of this survival stood here in ExRotaprint for the opening of the space and the opening of the bones of the world. From this image on, we wanted to acknowledge the vulnerability of our collections in South America and the responsibility also of different public spheres regarding our collection. We have also the possibility to check the new magazine of the Feminist Healthcare Research Group. It's a duo of artists and mothers addressing the notion of crisis, not only from a personal perspective, but also from a political perspective. During the last year, they have organized some closed meeting here in ExRotaprint to discuss the notion of crisis. And now this publication is giving more tools to people with other abilities to cross difficulties in our current time.
Here we have the book of Mauricio Gatti, In the Jungle There's Much to be Done, or En la Selva hay mucho por hacer. This book was originally published in 1971. Mauricio was held in prison during those times as a young artist and poet, and trying to explain to his 3-year-old daughter Paula what political imprisonment meant. He started doing these drawings that he started sending to her, and that afterwards were compiled and turned into this book. Last year, we did for the first time an English translation that was already available in languages as French, in German, in Spanish, of course, but not in English.
Todos tienen que ayudar, por eso los pajaritos.
Together with the publication, we also present the film done by the Grupo Experimental de Cine in 1974. This film was developed by 3 young architects and was produced in a 35mm shot. We also are going to host different events in ExRotaprint for children to see the movie with an oral narration on top.
Con la tortuga se quedan a jugar. Todos tienen que ayudar. Por eso los pajaritos, ramas y palos